The boys from Dalvvic. Dalvvic, a small coastal village nestled in northern Iceland, is known for its peaceful charm, close-knit community, and striking natural beauty. But beneath its tranquil surface lies one of Iceland's most strangest mysteries: the disappearance of 4 teenage boys in the summer of 1978. Even after more than 4 decades, the mystery of what happened on that calm June night continues to puzzle residents and investigators alike, leaving behind more questions than answers. On the 16th of June, 1978, the day before Iceland's Independence Day celebrations, the weather was unusually mild and clear for the northern region. The midnight sun cast a gentle glow across the water, illuminating the coast of Dalvvic and the nearby island of Hydes. That evening, 4 teenage boys, Stefan Ragnar Egerson, Gunnar Jonsson, Simon Johan Hilmarsson, and Egil Antonsson, decided to take a small 11-foot plastic rowboat out to sea. The boat had been borrowed earlier in the day from a friend and had been modified with a small engine, allowing it to travel across the calm waters of Eyjafjörður Fjord. Without informing their families or friends of their plans, the boys set off toward Hydes, a small island roughly 2 kilometers wide and 7 kilometers long. From his post on duty, Dalvvic's lone police officer spotted the boys through his binoculars as they made their way across the water. He later stated that he watched them reach the island, pull into the harbour, and appear to disembark before losing sight of them in the distance. Seeing nothing unusual, the officer assumed the teenagers were simply exploring and thought no more of it. By the next morning, however, panic began to set in. None of the boys had returned home, and their parents, growing increasingly worried, began asking around the village. The same police officer who had observed their journey the previous night was quickly informed and organised a search party. Along with the remaining officers, he made his way to Hydes, expecting to find the boys safe. But when they arrived, what they found only deepened the mystery. The boat that had been seen docking at the harbour was gone. Not a trace of it could be found anywhere around the docks or along the shore. Even more strangely, when officers began questioning every inhabitant of Hydes, not a single person recalled seeing the boys or their boat arrive that night. In a community so small, where everyone knows one another, the complete lack of witnesses seemed impossible. Reinforcements were called in from nearby towns, and a full-scale search was launched. For several days, police, rescue teams and volunteers scoured both the island and the surrounding fjord. Fishermen joined the search with their own boats, combing through every possible area the boys could have reached. Eventually, an oar from the missing boat was discovered, floating roughly 300 meters from the harbour, and a jacket and shoe belonging to one of the teenagers were found at the northern tip of Hydes. These small pieces of evidence only added to the confusion. If the boys had drowned, where were their bodies? If they had left the island, how and why? By the 21st of June, after days of searching yielded no further results, the operation was officially called off. The boys were declared lost at sea, their disappearance attributed to a tragic accident. Yet, even as time passed, the people of Dalvvic struggled to accept this explanation. The conditions that night had been near perfect. There were no storms, no high waves, and with the midnight sun illuminating the horizon, visibility was excellent. The sea had been calm, offering no reason to believe their boat would have capsized without warning. What troubles investigators and locals to this day is the absence of physical evidence. No wreckage of the boat, no belongings beyond the few found, and no remains were ever recovered. Given the small size of the fjord and the proximity of both shores, something should have been found. The idea that 4 teenagers and their boat could vanish completely under such calm conditions defies ordinary explanation. There were also the haunting questions surrounding the island itself. How could the police officer have seen them dock so clearly, only for the island's residents to unanimously claim they never arrived? Were they mistaken about the harbour, or could something or someone have met them when they reached the shore? Theories have circulated for years, from the possibility of an accident followed by a strong current carrying the boat away, to more unsettling suggestions of foul play or strange phenomena. Yet with so few clues remaining, the truth seems lost to time. Even today, locals still speak of the boys from Dalvvic in hushed tones, remembering them not only for their youth, but for the unanswered mystery that has haunted the village for more than 40 years. the mysterious Lost Boys case. On the late evening of the 17th of March 1995, a night that should have ended like any other spring break gathering became one of Canada's most haunting mysteries. 6 teenage boys from Pickering, Ontario, Jay Boyle, Michael Cummins, Daniel Higgins, Chad Smith, Robbie Rumbolt, and Jamie Lefebvre, vanished without a trace after attending a party near the shores of Lake Ontario. What began as a night of youthful fun and laughter ended in silence and unanswered questions that continue to echo decades later. After leaving the party, witnesses reported that the boys were in high spirits, joking and talking about finding some adventure before heading home. Evidence later suggested that their curiosity led them to the nearby waterfront at Frenchman's Bay, where they may have stumbled upon 2 boats, a 4-meter imitation Boston whaler motorboat and a 3-wheeled paddleboat, both later reported missing from their respective marinas. It is believed that the boys decided to take the boats for a joyride on the frigid lake waters, unaware of the danger that awaited them. At approximately 1:48 in the morning, surveillance footage captured 3 of the boys, Michael, Jamie, and Robbie, entering East Shore Marina. Roughly an hour later, between 2:30 and 3 o'clock, local residents reported hearing the sound of a motorboat out on the dark lake. That was the last sign that anyone ever had of the group. By morning, both boats had vanished, and the once peaceful waters of Lake Ontario had swallowed the only clues to their fate. When the boys failed to return home, their girlfriends grew worried and contacted the police. At first, their concerns were dismissed, with authorities assuming the boys had simply stayed out too late. It wasn't until the following day, when the missing boats were reported, that the connection was made. By then, 36 hours had passed since the group was last seen. A massive search operation was launched, involving Durham Police, the Toronto Police Marine Unit, the Coast Guard, and even military aircraft from Canadian Forces Base Trenton. For days, searchers combed the lake and surrounding shoreline. Volunteers from across southern Ontario joined in, scanning the water for any sign of the missing boys or the boats they had taken. Despite the combined efforts of air, sea, and ground teams, the search turned up almost nothing. The only item ever recovered was a single red gas can that had belonged to the Boston whaler. Beyond that, there were no bodies, no wreckage, and no personal belongings. It was as if the boys had simply disappeared into thin air. Authorities concluded that the boys likely capsized and succumbed to the icy temperatures within minutes. The waters of Lake Ontario in March are brutally cold, and hypothermia can set in quickly, making survival nearly impossible. Yet many have questioned this explanation, pointing out that even in such conditions, some evidence, life jackets, clothing, fragments of the boat, should have surfaced eventually. Adding to the mystery is the location of their departure. The East Shore Marina sits adjacent to the Pickering nuclear facility, and anyone leaving Frenchman's Bay by boat would have had to pass directly by the plant to reach open water. This detail has fueled speculation for years, with some wondering whether the boys might have inadvertently encountered something unusual that night. Others have suggested the possibility of a cover-up or secret event, though no concrete evidence has ever been produced to support such claims. The case has left generations of residents haunted. Families and friends of the boys still struggle with the lack of closure, clinging to faint hope that one day an answer will emerge. How could 6 young men and 2 boats vanish completely, leaving behind only a single gas can and a lifetime of unanswered questions? The Lost Boys of Pickering have become part of Canadian legend, a chilling reminder that even in familiar places, mystery can strike without warning. This family heirloom doll started acting strange. A mysterious photograph recently uploaded to Facebook has captivated thousands of users, sparking intense discussion across paranormal groups. The image shows a peculiar doll sitting on a chair in a dimly lit room, its worn features and dark, empty eyes exuding an unsettling presence. The user who shared the photograph claimed that this doll, which has been in her family for generations, behaves in ways that defy explanation. According to her account, the doll always faces her when she wakes up in the morning, no matter how many times she turns it away before going to bed. She insists that she can position the doll in any direction, yet by dawn, it is once again staring directly at her. The woman revealed that the doll originally belonged to her great-grandmother and has remained in her family for decades. What makes the story even more unusual is the tradition attached to it. Each female in her family, stretching back several generations, was asked to cut a lock of her hair and embed it within the doll's head. Over time, the doll became a symbolic heirloom, a representation of their family's bond through blood and memory. However, as the years went by, it seems the sentimental object may have taken on something far more unsettling. The woman explained that in recent years, she has begun to believe the doll is haunted. She described a growing sense of unease around it, explaining that its gaze seems almost alive, as though it follows her movements across the room. Despite her fears, she said she cannot bring herself to throw it away, believing that doing so might bring misfortune upon her family. The doll, she insists, holds a piece of every woman who came before her, a living artifact of her lineage that cannot be easily discarded. When the photograph was posted, it was quickly spread across paranormal groups. Many users commented that they felt uneasy just looking at the image, reporting sensations of dread, nausea, or chills. Some claimed that the doll's expression appeared to shift the longer they looked at it, while others said that its eyes seemed to glow faintly in the dim light of the room. Members of paranormal investigation groups joined the discussion, warning the woman that objects can indeed absorb and retain spiritual energy, particularly those tied to intense emotions or long family histories. They suggested that she lock the doll inside a sealed box and store it somewhere safe, such as an attic, to prevent further disturbances. According to some experts in the paranormal field, items that are bound to generations of the same family often develop what is known as a residual presence, a form of spiritual energy that lingers and interacts with its surroundings. In cases where hair, personal belongings, or heirlooms are physically integrated into an object, the emotional connection becomes even stronger. Over time, the energy of those who contributed to it may manifest in strange and unexplained ways. The woman's story has reignited long-standing debates about haunted objects and whether certain heirlooms can act as vessels for ancestral energy. Some believe the doll may have become a spiritual conduit, its physical form acting as a link between the living and those who have passed on. Others suggest that years of fear and attention have strengthened whatever presence might inhabit it, feeding the energy surrounding it. As the story continues to circulate, many have expressed both fascination and fear, warning that some family treasures may be best left undisturbed. Whether a vessel of memory or something far more mysterious, the doll now sits at the center of one of the internet's eeriest mysteries, a silent witness to generations of history, watching as its story unfolds once again. The mystery of Joan Risch. The mystery of Joan Risch is one of the most haunting and perplexing missing person cases in American history. Her story begins with tragedy and ends in an enduring mystery that continues to baffle investigators, historians, and true crime enthusiasts to this day. Born in 1930 in Brooklyn, New York, Joan Carolyn Bard's life was marked by hardship from the start. At just 9 years old, after moving to New Jersey, she lost both of her parents in what authorities described as a suspicious house fire. She was later adopted by her aunt and uncle, and according to later accounts, endured mistreatment at the hands of her uncle. Despite her painful upbringing, Joan showed great strength and determination, going on to build a seemingly stable and happy life, one that would one day vanish without warning. Joan worked hard through her early years, eventually graduating from college in 1952 with a degree in English. She began her career in publishing in New York City, where her intelligence and attention to detail earned her respect among her colleagues. 2 years later, at a Harvard football game, she met a young man named Martin Risch, and the two quickly formed a deep bond. By 1956, they were married, and Joan left her career behind to focus on building a family. Together, they welcomed 2 children, a daughter named Lillian and a son named David. The family eventually settled in Lincoln, Massachusetts, where they lived a comfortable, quiet life, surrounded by friendly neighbors. By all outward appearances, the Risch family's life was idyllic. Joan was an attentive mother and a well-liked member of the community. She was known to be intelligent, organized, and deeply caring. She spent her free time reading, writing, and taking part in community organizations such as the League of Women Voters. Her husband, Martin, worked as an executive for a paper company and often travelled for business. Friends described the couple as close and supportive of one another. Nothing about Joan's life suggested that anything dark or mysterious lay ahead. That all changed on the 17th of October, 1961. The day began like any other. Martin left early in the morning for a business trip to New York, leaving Joan at home with their 2 children. She took her daughter to a dentist appointment, stopped to cash a check, and ran a few errands. When she returned home, everything seemed perfectly normal. She spent the early afternoon doing chores, visiting with neighbours, and watching her children play. By mid-afternoon, Joan was seen outside her home wearing a trench coat, appearing to carry something red in her hands. A neighbour, Barbara Barker, saw her walking near the family car but didn't think much of it. It would later be confirmed that this was the last verified sighting of Joan Risch. Just an hour later, Barbara's daughter Lillian ran to the Barker home crying, saying that her mother was gone and that the kitchen was covered in red paint. When Barbara rushed to investigate, she was met with a chilling scene. The house was in disarray. The phone had been ripped from the wall, furniture was overturned, and a trail of blood led from the kitchen to the driveway. The red paint was in fact blood, spattered across floors, walls, and even the family's car. Police arrived quickly and began their investigation. What they found was strange and contradictory. Despite the large amount of blood, there were no bloody footprints. Paper towels appeared to have been used in an attempt to clean up, suggesting someone may have been injured but mobile. The amount of blood lost was estimated to be around half a pint, significant, but not enough to suggest a fatal injury. The family's telephone had been torn from the wall and placed in the trash, along with empty beer cans and an empty liquor bottle. Outside, investigators found slight damage to the family's car, though Martin later said that both he and Joan had accidentally hit the garage door in the past. Several witnesses reported seeing a grey or blue sedan in the area around the time Joan vanished, one that didn't belong to any of the neighbours. That same type of car had allegedly been seen parked in the Risch driveway several days before her disappearance. In the hours following the discovery, reports began to surface of a woman matching Joan's description walking along Route 2A and Route 128. Witnesses described her as disoriented and unsteady, wearing a grey coat and holding something close to her body. Some said it appeared as though she was bleeding. Despite multiple sightings, no one stopped to offer help, and the woman disappeared from view. The investigation that followed uncovered more questions than answers. Theories emerged almost immediately. Some suggested Joan had staged her own disappearance, seeking escape from her suburban life. Others believed she may have suffered a medical emergency, such as a hemorrhage or miscarriage, and wandered off in confusion. Another theory proposed that she was the victim of a violent act, possibly involving someone she knew, perhaps connected to the mysterious sedan seen near her home. Joan's husband, Martin, remained steadfast in his belief that his wife would one day return. He never remarried, never changed his phone number, and refused to declare her legally dead. He raised their children alone and lived in the same house until it was eventually relocated for park development in 1975. Chief Leo Algeo, who led the investigation, continued to pursue the case for years after his retirement, calling it a stone around his neck. He maintained that people do not simply vanish without a trace. Yet, that is exactly what happened. To this day, the disappearance of Joan Risch remains one of New England's greatest unsolved mysteries. With no body, no clear motive, and no definitive evidence, her story stands as a haunting reminder that even in the quietest of neighborhoods, the truth can slip away into the unknown, leaving only silence, questions, and the faint trail of a woman who walked out her front door and never came back. The strange case of Byron Haddo. The mysterious case of Byron Haddo has left both Australia and Indonesia with more questions than answers. What began as a seemingly tragic accident in paradise has since spiraled into one of the most unsettling international mysteries in recent years. Byron Haddo, a 28-year-old Australian man, was found lifeless in the private plunge pool of his villa in Bali in May of 2023. What should have been a peaceful holiday quickly turned into a nightmare for his loved ones when his body was returned to Australia without one crucial part: his heart. Byron's family was devastated when they learned that his heart had been removed during an autopsy in Bali. Initially told it was part of an official forensic investigation, the family soon found themselves caught in a web of confusion and unanswered questions. Months later, the heart was returned to Queensland for DNA testing to verify that it was, in fact, Byron's. But by that point, the situation had grown even more complex. The family's representative, Nilu Arye Ratna Sukasari, stated that there was a real possibility the organ that had been sent back might not even belong to him. This shocking possibility added another layer of uncertainty to an already distressing ordeal. Byron's parents, Robert and Chantal, described the situation as deeply painful. Not only had they lost their son under mysterious circumstances, but they now had to grapple with the idea that his body had been handled without transparency or respect. Their grief was compounded by reports that Byron's body bore unexplained bruises and cuts, markings that did not align with an accidental drowning. To them, these injuries hinted that something far more disturbing might have taken place before he entered the water. The Bali hospital that conducted the autopsy publicly denied any wrongdoing. The hospital's director addressed the controversy, firmly rejecting any allegations of organ theft. He explained that the autopsy was carried out at the request of local authorities and that the removal of Byron's heart was purely for forensic purposes. According to him, the hospital had no intention of withholding the organ and was simply following proper legal and medical procedures. He stated that the delay in returning the heart was due to the time required to prepare and process it for repatriation. Despite these explanations, the family's lawyer insisted that the hospital had not provided adequate documentation or notification before removing the organ. Furthermore, it was revealed that an additional autopsy had been conducted on the heart in Bali without the family's knowledge or consent. To make matters worse, the family was allegedly asked to pay around $700 for the organ's return, a demand they described as deeply inappropriate and insensitive. As the months passed, the mystery surrounding Byron's passing only grew deeper. The heart was eventually returned to Australia in August, where it underwent DNA testing in Queensland to confirm whether it truly belonged to him. The process was emotionally taxing for his family, who were desperate for closure, yet fearful of what the results might reveal. The family also continued to call for an independent investigation into both Byron's passing and the subsequent handling of his remains. They hoped that transparency from both the Indonesian authorities and the hospital would bring clarity to the many inconsistencies in the case. The Australian government expressed concern over the situation, with officials from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade confirming they were providing consular assistance to the Haddo family. However, privacy obligations prevented them from commenting in detail. Behind the scenes, however, diplomatic conversations between Australia and Indonesia continued as the circumstances of the case began to attract international attention. What truly happened to Byron in that villa remains uncertain. The initial reports suggested an accident, that he had somehow fallen or slipped into the pool. Yet, the injuries on his body, the missing heart, and the lack of communication from authorities all suggest that something more complex may have occurred. For his parents, the idea that their son's heart could have been removed and examined without their consent is an emotional wound that may never fully heal. To this day, the Haddo family continues to seek justice and answers. They have described the way Byron's body was treated as inhumane, emphasizing that their only wish is to restore dignity to their son's memory. Each revelation, from the unexplained injuries to the mysterious heart removal, has only strengthened their resolve to uncover the truth. The case of Byron Haddo remains one of sorrow and suspicion. It serves as a somber reminder that even in places of beauty, tragedy can strike unexpectedly, and that sometimes the deepest mysteries are not only about how a life ends, but about what happens afterward. Mysterious underwater discovery. In 2013, a team of Brazilian geologists, in collaboration with Japanese scientists, made a discovery that stirred significant curiosity and speculation. While conducting deep-sea research off the coast of Brazil, they identified a granite formation lying at an astonishing depth of approximately 2,500 meters, around 8,000 feet, beneath the ocean's surface. This single discovery raised compelling questions about Earth's geological history and the possibility of a once thriving, now submerged landmass that may have hosted an ancient and mysterious civilization. granite is a type of rock that forms exclusively on land through specific geological processes involving magma cooling deep beneath the Earth's crust. Because of this, the discovery of granite so far beneath the sea challenges conventional geological understanding. The presence of this land-based rock on the ocean floor suggests that the region where it was found may once have been above sea level, part of a landmass that has since vanished beneath the waves. Supporting this theory further was the discovery of quartz deposits, which also only develop in terrestrial environments. These natural indicators led some scientists to suggest that a continent, or at least a significant section of land, may have once existed in the area, only to be lost to the ocean over time. According to those involved in the discovery, the granite formation resembled a large underwater cliff. It appeared natural and not the result of random debris or ship-related activity. Though some skeptics proposed that the granite might have originated as discarded ballast from a vessel, this theory seems unlikely given the sheer size of the deposit and its location in a remote part of the Atlantic Ocean. The odds of such ballast forming a cliff-like structure in such an isolated place are considered extremely low by most experts who have studied the site. The implications of this finding are significant. If the granite and quartz deposits are indeed remnants of a lost landmass, then it could be evidence of a sunken continent that once supported complex ecosystems, or even early human life. Some researchers speculated that this area might be connected to ancient legends of lost civilizations, such as Atlantis, though such claims remain purely speculative in the absence of further evidence. Nonetheless, the concept of submerged ancient lands continues to capture the imagination of scientists and the general public alike. While additional expeditions and studies were expected to provide more clarity, as of now, no definitive follow-up discoveries have been made to confirm the existence of a lost continent in this region. Still, the granite cliff stands as a tantalizing clue, a geological anomaly that hints at a deeper story yet to be fully understood. Whether it was once part of a thriving civilization or simply a relic of Earth's shifting crust, its mystery endures, waiting for the next chapter to be uncovered. Mysterious structure resembling a pyramid found at the bottom of Fuxian Lake. In the still waters of Fuxian Lake, nestled in China's Yunnan province, lies a submerged mystery that has captivated archaeologists, historians, and curious minds alike. On June 30, 2006, a team of Chinese archaeologists embarked on an extensive underwater exploration that would lead to the discovery of an astonishing cluster of ancient structures. Among the findings was a large, pyramid-like structure that continues to challenge conventional historical narratives and spark intense debate about the true depth of China's ancient past. Fuxian Lake itself is one of the deepest freshwater lakes in China, and its pristine waters conceal secrets from eras long forgotten. As divers descended into the depths, they uncovered the remains of what appeared to be a remarkably engineered city, large buildings crafted with impressive precision, hinting at the work of a sophisticated and skilled civilization. These massive stone structures sprawled across approximately 2.4 square kilometers of the lakebed, surpassing even the Han Dynasty's capital in sheer scale. Yet what puzzled researchers most was the absence of any record in China's vast historical archives of such a colossal settlement. Adding to the mystery were the stones themselves. They were not only neatly arranged, but also engraved with various symbols, designs, and carvings that defied immediate explanation. One of the most compelling finds was a structure strongly reminiscent of a pyramid. Unlike the smooth lines of Egyptian pyramids, this submerged formation displayed terraces and stepped layers, along with intricately etched symbols. The stones used in its construction were adorned with carvings of circles surrounded by radial lines, strikingly resembling sun symbols. One stone, in particular, featured a small circle in the upper right corner encircled by 7 rays, while another bore a similar circle with 4 rays. These figures bore similarities to those found on bronze drums from the spring and autumn period, dated between 722 and 481 BC. However, the carvings discovered at Fuxian Lake appeared to predate even these ancient artifacts. Among the most remarkable finds were stone carvings resembling masks with exaggerated facial features, flat cheeks, sunken eyes, and indented teeth that did not appear entirely human. These faces hinted at a symbolic or spiritual purpose behind the carvings. Other stones revealed simple but curious symbols, including what looked like the numbers 0 and 1, formations of 7 holes, Roman numeral-like markings, and the letter Y. Whether these carvings were purely decorative, religious, or even indicative of an early form of language remains unknown. Their presence adds complexity to an already baffling mystery. Historically, the lake is believed to have been near the site of Yuyuan City, founded during the Western Han dynasty, but references to Yuyuan vanish mysteriously from records following the Sui and Tang dynasties. Folklore offers a haunting explanation. The entire city and its inhabitants are said to have sunk into the lake, swallowed by unknown forces. Though earlier theories speculated that the ruins may belong to Yuyuan or the Dian kingdom, both of which primarily used wood and clay for construction, the stone composition of the underwater structures suggests a much older and possibly unknown civilization. Sonar imaging and underwater mapping have revealed an intricate network of buildings and platforms beneath the lake, supporting the notion that this was a significant cultural or administrative center in ancient times. The pyramid-like structure, in particular, has stirred interest because of its resemblance to pyramidal monuments found throughout the ancient world. This geometric precision and scale suggests that the builders possessed advanced knowledge in engineering, architecture, and possibly astronomy. Several theories have emerged to explain the pyramid's function. Some suggest it may have been used for religious or ceremonial purposes, much like the ziggurats of Mesopotamia or the pyramids of Mesoamerica. Its alignment and shape could have allowed it to serve as an observatory or a place of worship connected to solar deities, as hinted at by the sun-like carvings. Others theorize that it may have functioned as a navigational marker for ancient travelers who navigated Fuxian Lake. Given its prominent underwater location, it could once have served as a guidepost or symbolic center for early communities. Another compelling but speculative theory is that the pyramid could have been a burial site or mausoleum. Many ancient cultures built elaborate tombs to honor leaders and preserve their legacies. However, the absence of inscriptions, relics, or burial chambers makes this possibility difficult to confirm. What is clear, however, is that these ruins were not the result of a natural geological event. The precision of the construction and the presence of symbolic carvings indicate deliberate design by an organized and culturally rich society. Yet, with no written records, no known artifacts pointing to a specific civilization, and a location that remains difficult to explore in full, the mystery endures. Preservation efforts are now a growing concern among researchers and conservationists. The risk of pollution, environmental changes, or human interference threatens the fragile ruins. Calls have been made to protect the area, establish underwater archaeological zones, and use advanced imaging technologies to learn more without disturbing the site. The Fuxian Lake Pyramid offers an unprecedented opportunity to uncover insights into humanity's forgotten past, but only if treated with the respect and care it deserves. For now, the pyramid beneath Fuxian Lake remains one of archaeology's great unsolved puzzles. Its origin, purpose, and the identity of its builders may be hidden beneath centuries of water and mystery, but its discovery reminds us how much of history may still lie submerged, waiting to be revealed. Mysterious encounters with the Araka monster. Deep in the remote expanse of Chile's Atacama Desert, a place known for its stark beauty and almost extraterrestrial isolation, tales of a strange creature have been whispered for decades. This creature, often referred to as the Araka monster, has captured the imagination of locals and researchers alike. Described as a 6-foot-tall bipedal beast with traits reminiscent of both prehistoric theropods and modern-day kangaroos, the Araka monster has been the subject of multiple sightings, strange encounters, and ongoing speculation. The first major reports of the Araka monster surfaced in 1980, when travelers navigating the desolate road between Iquique and Arica claimed to have seen something extraordinary. These sightings came from people with no prior connection to one another, yet their descriptions were remarkably consistent. Witnesses spoke of a large, upright creature with muscular hind legs, sharp teeth, and 3-toed footprints. Its movements were quick and powerful, and its overall appearance bore a striking resemblance to the raptors popularized in film and popular culture. One of the most notable accounts came from Hernan Cuevas, a military officer who, along with his family, saw two such creatures cross in front of their vehicle. He recalled them having thick thighs and the posture of a running dinosaur. Throughout the years, especially in 2004, sightings intensified. Several members of a large Spanish family described a harrowing encounter in which four dog-faced, kangaroo-like beings surrounded their car as they returned home to Araka. The creatures displayed a mix of mammalian and reptilian features, challenging easy classification. These creatures were not alone. Others reported seeing similar beings in groups, suggesting the possibility of a small population hiding in the vastness of the desert. Some motorists described a dinosaur-like bird darting across the road, a description echoed by a popular investigative program that dubbed the creature a dinosaur-like bird based on various eyewitness testimonies. Researchers have proposed a variety of possibilities to explain the phenomenon. Some believe the creature may be a living form of dromaeosaur, one of the feathered, agile predators that once roamed prehistoric Earth. Others suggest a more grounded explanation, pointing to South America's rich paleontological history and extinct fauna such as Phorus racos, a large, flightless bird known for its predatory nature. Another theory entertains the idea of a surviving chuvasaurid, such as Silosuchus, a reptile that resembled a theropod but was not a true dinosaur. Still others posit that the creature could be an unusually large marsupial, possibly a descendant of Argyrophagus, a long-extinct mammal known for its kangaroo-like hopping and desert adaptation. Despite the skepticism of some, especially given the Atacama Desert's harsh and seemingly lifeless environment, others argue that the landscape's very nature makes it ideal for an elusive species to avoid detection. The desert is immense, with deep canyons, remote caves, and rare but present sources of water. These features could provide sufficient cover and sustenance for a small number of reclusive creatures to persist. A paleontologist from the University of Tarapacá, Caudero Santoro, has studied the region's prehistoric remains and believes that if dinosaurs once thrived here, it is not entirely beyond imagination that some form of unknown creature could still call it home. The area's mystery has drawn the attention of researchers, travelers, and television crews alike. In one investigation, a composite image of the creature created from eyewitness descriptions resulted in an illustration of a leathery-skinned animal with three-toed feet, a muscular tail, and sharp teeth. The creature bore a strong resemblance to how theropods are popularly visualized: lean, upright, and built for speed. Interviews with locals revealed a mix of fear and curiosity, with some firmly believing in what they saw and others dismissing it as a case of mistaken identity or folklore blending with modern media influence. Regardless of its origins, the Araka monster continues to fascinate. For some, it is a remnant of the distant past, a living fossil that has somehow endured in one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. For others, it is a case of folklore being kept alive by imagination, misidentified animals, and the mind's tendency to seek patterns even in shadows. The truth remains elusive, hidden somewhere in the endless sands of the Atacama, where silence and time protect secrets millions of years in the making. Whether real or myth, the Araka monster has firmly rooted itself in the culture and mystery of northern Chile, leaving behind more questions than answers with every sighting. The mystery of the Solomon Island giants. The Solomon Islands, scattered like emerald jewels across the vast Pacific Ocean, are steeped in mystery, ancient lore, and rich cultural heritage. Among the many mysterious tales that have emerged from this tropical archipelago, one of the most persistent and fascinating is that of the Solomon Island giants, towering humanoid beings said to inhabit the remote and unexplored jungles of the islands. Local oral traditions, handed down from generation to generation, speak vividly of these beings. The giants are described as immensely tall, sometimes over 10 feet in height, with large feet, strong builds, and distinctive facial features. In some accounts, their hair ranges from black to reddish-brown, and their eyes are described as unusually bright or red, said to shine in the dark. While some legends portray them as protectors of the land, guardians of sacred places and carriers of ancient wisdom, others speak of them with caution, noting their strength, secrecy, and potential for destruction if disturbed. The Solomon Islanders, particularly those living in the dense interiors of Guadalcanal, hold deep reverence for these beings. Stories persist that the giants have long guarded sacred groves, underground caverns, and natural landmarks filled with spiritual significance. These areas are often avoided by locals, not out of fear alone, but from a deep respect for the powerful entities believed to dwell within. Throughout the 21st century, researchers intrigued by accounts of unknown hominids have turned their attention to the Solomon Islands. Among them is Marius Byron, a former Australian military contractor, engineer and pilot who married a Solomon Islander and became deeply immersed in the local culture. During his time living and working among the islanders, Byron encountered countless tales of giants, so consistent and detailed across different communities that he felt compelled to investigate further. He documented many of these stories in his book, Solomon Island Mysteries, in which he explores not only the sightings of these beings, but also their possible connection to ancient history. Byron reports that the Guadalcanal giants are said to stand between 10 and 15 feet tall, with some believed to reach heights of 20 feet or more. He describes them as having large mouths, flat noses, double eyebrows, and long hair. Their presence, according to the locals, is not mere folklore. Many believe the giants still live in the mountains and dense rainforests, keeping themselves hidden from modern society while continuing to interact with the environment and occasionally with people. One of the most compelling accounts shared by Byron involves a woman named Mango, who, according to the community, disappeared decades ago only to resurface years later under bizarre circumstances. It was believed she had been taken by the giants and lived among them for over 2 decades. When she finally returned, she was visibly distressed, reportedly pregnant, and speaking incoherently. Her skin was described as unusually slippery, and locals used a rough-edged plant to bind her and carry her home. Mango later gave birth to a child, said to be of mixed descent, who sadly passed away at a young age under tragic circumstances. This story, while heartbreaking, is not unique. It represents a pattern of unexplained events that are spoken of quietly yet earnestly among island communities. The rich cultural and historical context of the Solomon Islands adds another layer to the mystery. Settled by humans as early as 30,000 BC, the islands have long been home to diverse populations with deeply rooted traditions. Over time, new influences arrived: Austronesian migrations, Lapita culture, European explorers and colonial powers, all of which contributed to the island's complex tapestry. The Solomon Islands were even a significant battleground during World War II, particularly during the Battle of Guadalcanal, a place that now forms the epicenter of many modern giant-related sightings. Adding further intrigue to the topic is the recurring comparison between the Solomon Island giants and other legendary large hominids from around the world. The orang dalam of Malaysia are being described in similar terms, and other mystery primates from the Pacific and Southeast Asia appear in various field guides and research. These parallels raise questions about the universality of giant myths and the possibility that such beings, or their memory, may have roots in a shared ancient experience. Skeptics argue that the tales of giants are exaggerated memories, metaphors, or cultural myths used to teach respect for nature or protect sacred areas. They point to the lack of physical evidence, no bones, no verified photographs, as a critical weakness in the case for actual living giants. But others, like Byron, believe the terrain of the Solomon Islands, its remoteness, and the deep-rooted traditions of secrecy among the locals make it entirely plausible that something unknown continues to exist in those jungles, far from the eyes of modern science. Today, as global interest in ancient mysteries continues to grow, the story of the Solomon Island giants stands as a compelling intersection of myth and possible reality. Whether viewed as symbolic guardians of the land or actual undiscovered humanoids, they continue to inspire awe, caution, and curiosity among both locals and researchers. In the Solomon Islands, the giants are more than legend. They are part of the cultural fabric, inseparable from the identity of the people and the mysteries of their land. Whether or not science ever confirms their existence, the giants will continue to walk the forests of the imagination, larger than life and wrapped in the enduring fog of the unknown. The mysterious disappearance of Glenn and Bessie Hyde. The mysterious disappearance of Bessie and Glenn Hyde remains one of the most enduring unsolved cases in American wilderness history. On November 18, 1928, the young couple set off down the Colorado and Green Rivers on what was intended to be a daring adventure honeymoon. They said goodbye to Ellsworth and Emery Kolb, two brothers who were also spending time in the Grand Canyon area, and then launched their handmade, flat-bottomed scow into the powerful river currents. Their aim was to travel through the Grand Canyon by boat, a feat that, at the time, had never been completed by a woman, but after that moment, Bessie and Glenn Hyde were never seen again. Although the newlyweds were on a celebratory journey, it didn't take long before their absence raised concern. Glenn's father, despite the couple not being overdue at their destination in Needles, California, felt an unshakable sense that something was wrong and launched a search on December 6th. This instinct would soon be justified. On December 19th, a search plane spotted their abandoned scow floating undamaged near mile 226 on the Colorado River. It had been nearly 3 weeks since the couple had departed. The boat was intact, with no signs of capsizing or struggle, and all of their supplies, including food, clothing, and even Bessie's journal, were still on board, neatly strapped down. One of the most puzzling details was that nothing on the boat indicated an emergency. There was no water damage, no indication of hasty departure, and no sign of violence. Adding to the mystery, a camera found among their gear revealed the last photo of the couple was taken near mile 165 around November 27th. Bessie had written in her journal that they had successfully passed mile 231, suggesting they may have made it beyond the point where their boat was found. Yet, there was no trace of the couple on land or water. What made this case all the more baffling was that Glenn Hyde was not a novice when it came to rafting. He had significant experience navigating rivers like the Snake and Salmon in Idaho and had constructed the scow himself. Though not officially a professional river guide, Glenn was considered more than competent in handling such expeditions. If any couple could complete such a challenging voyage, it was likely them. One theory that emerged over time was that the couple may have sabotaged their journey due to overwhelming pressure. They were attempting to set a record for the fastest river trip through the Grand Canyon, and Bessie was on the verge of becoming the first woman to complete such a voyage. The weight of that attention could have created emotional strain. However, no evidence was found in their journals or belongings to support this idea, and the boat showed no signs of damage or abandonment by choice. Another, more plausible theory suggests that they may have been swept overboard near mile 232, a particularly dangerous stretch filled with granite rocks that lie just beneath the surface. These rocks are notorious for overturning boats, even in modern times. However, the fact that their boat was found upright and undamaged casts doubt on this explanation as well. Had the vessel struck rocks or flipped, there would likely be visible signs. Over the decades, the disappearance of Bessie and Glenn Hyde has given rise to numerous stories, theories, and even hoaxes. In 1971, an elderly woman reportedly claimed during a river rafting trip that she was Bessie Hyde and that she had escaped the canyon after defending herself from an abusive Glenn. However, when pressed for more details, she denied ever making the statement. Years later, another strange possibility emerged when the famed boatwoman Georgie Clark passed away in 1992. Among her personal items were documents related to the Hydes, including their marriage certificate. Some speculated that she might have been Bessie living under a new identity, but this was never substantiated. Today, nearly a century after they vanished, the story of Bessie and Glenn Hyde still captures the imagination of all who hear it. For river guides and adventurers navigating the Colorado River, the tale is often told around campfires, where the canyon walls seem to echo with the whispers of legends past. What truly happened to Bessie and Glenn Hyde may never be known. Whether they succumbed to an accident, encountered foul play, or disappeared by choice remains one of the Grand Canyon's most enduring mysteries. Their story continues to fascinate those drawn to the mysteries of wild places, and perhaps always will. The strange case of John Devine. The mysterious disappearance of 73-year-old hiker John Devine continues to puzzle those familiar with the Olympic National Park in Washington. On September 7, 1997, Devine vanished without a trace while hiking in an area he knew well. Despite being in his 70s, Devine was in excellent physical condition and had decades of experience trekking through the challenging terrain of the Pacific Northwest. That September weekend, he intended to ascend Mount Baldy using the steep and rugged Maynard Burn Trail, a route not for the faint of heart, but one he was confident navigating. Devine, who lived in Sequim, Washington, had ventured out into the wilderness many times before, often hiking solo. Despite being legally blind in one eye, his familiarity with the Olympic Mountains gave him a sense of comfort in the wilderness that few could match. On the day of his disappearance, he had been camping with a friend in the Buckhorn Wilderness area, just outside the boundaries of the national park. It was planned as a day hike, and Devine only carried light snacks, such as granola bars, and no extensive gear. He was last seen hiking along Grey Wolf Ridge on the northern side of Olympic National Park. When he failed to return that evening, his family grew concerned. They reported him missing the next day, and a large-scale search and rescue operation was quickly launched. Authorities were concerned not just because of his age, but due to the unforgiving terrain and quickly changing weather conditions in the region. The Olympic Mountains are known for their steep cliffs, dense forests, and rapidly shifting weather patterns. Although Devine was an experienced outdoorsman, the mountains show no favoritism, even to seasoned hikers. The terrain on and around Mount Baldy is particularly treacherous, with thick vegetation and rocky inclines making any search operation especially difficult. The initial hope was that Devine had simply gotten disoriented or suffered a non-life-threatening injury and was waiting for help. But those hopes began to fade as time passed with no sign of him. Tragically, the search effort took a devastating turn. Just days into the operation, a helicopter that was assisting in the rescue effort crashed into the side of Mount Baldy. The helicopter had been carrying a team of search personnel when it went down due to poor weather and dangerous flying conditions. The accident claimed the lives of 3 individuals: Kevin Johnston, a seasoned pilot and instructor, Rita McMahon, a respected volunteer who trained search dogs, and Taryn Hoover, a seasonal employee of the park. 5 others were injured in the crash. The loss was a heavy blow to everyone involved. Not only had the team lost 3 dedicated individuals, but the crash also brought an abrupt halt to much of the aerial portion of the search. Meanwhile, conditions on the ground continued to worsen. Cold weather set in quickly, and dense underbrush made it nearly impossible for volunteers to search effectively on foot. The mountain was growing darker and more dangerous with each passing hour. Despite the best efforts of the search crews, no sign of John Devine was ever found. No clothing, no supplies, not even a footprint. The sheriff's department overseeing the operation explained that if Devine had still been in the area, he likely would have been located during the early days of the search. Given the nature of the terrain and the dropping temperatures, it was increasingly assumed that he may have suffered an injury that prevented him from making it out, and with limited provisions and worsening weather, survival would have been nearly impossible. On September 13th, less than a week after he was reported missing, the official search for John Devine was called off. The decision was painful for his family, who had held out hope that he might be found. Though he was well versed in navigating the wilderness, the combination of his light supplies, advancing age, and the mountain's challenging conditions made his disappearance all the more mysterious. Today, John Devine's story remains one of the many enduring mysteries of the Olympic National Park. His disappearance is a somber reminder of how unpredictable and powerful nature can be, regardless of experience or preparation. Though theories persist about what may have happened, ranging from a simple misstep to an encounter with something unknown, the truth of his final moments remains lost in the dense forest. To this day, no trace of John Devine has ever been recovered. His case continues to evoke curiosity, respect, and reflection on the risks that come with venturing into some of the most beautiful yet unforgiving landscapes on Earth. The strange case of Nachida Chandara. The mysterious disappearance of Nachida Chandara continues to puzzle investigators and those who knew her. Nachida was 15 at the time she vanished. Nachida was last seen on March 14, 2007, at her family home in Phoenix, Arizona. Sometime after 10 that night, she left the house without warning. She never returned, and no one in her immediate circle has seen or heard from her since. Initially, authorities classified Nachida's case as that of a runaway. While it is not uncommon for teenagers to leave home temporarily, what makes her situation especially troubling is the complete silence that followed her departure. Nachida left no note behind, made no known attempts to contact friends or family, and left behind very few clues as to where she might have gone or why. The only significant development came 2 months after her disappearance, in May 2007, when investigators received information indicating that Nachida had made her way to Detroit, Michigan. It was reported that she was using the name Lisa Tran as an alias. How this information was obtained remains unclear, and authorities never publicly disclosed the source of the lead. Despite this clue, there were no confirmed sightings or further evidence that could confirm her exact whereabouts at that time. Years later, speculation has continued to grow. Various sources have stated that Nachida may be living in either Seattle, Washington, or Miami, Florida. These cities are not only far from her original home in Phoenix, but also from each other, adding confusion to an already uncertain situation. There has been no public explanation as to what links Nachida to these cities, whether through tips, possible sightings, or digital traces. It has left those following the case wondering if she moved frequently, or if someone else may have been involved in orchestrating her disappearance and movements. Although she remains classified as a runaway, the fact that she has not made contact with family or surfaced officially in any capacity for such an extended period raises questions about her safety and well-being. Families and investigators alike often hold on to hope in these types of cases, as time sometimes brings new technology, new witnesses, or fresh leads that can provide a breakthrough. In Nachida's case, however, more than a decade has gone by without any resolution. Her disappearance has left a hole in the lives of those who care about her. For her family, each passing year is a painful reminder that their daughter, sister, or friend is still missing. They continue to hope that she is alive and that one day she might return or be located. Meanwhile, investigators remain open to new leads, holding on to the possibility that even the smallest detail could one day shed light on where Nachida went, who she might be with, and why she left. Until that day comes, the disappearance of Nachida Chandara remains an open and deeply unsettling mystery, one that continues to echo through the lives of all who remember her. The disappearance of Sophie Smith. The disappearance of Sophie Smith on December 26, 2017, remains one of the most mysterious and puzzling cases in recent memory. Sophie, a 21-year-old biomedicine student at the University of East Anglia, vanished in the early hours of Boxing Day after leaving her mother's home in Gorleston, Norfolk. At around 3 a.m, a CCTV camera captured an image of her walking alone along the beach in the direction of the sea. That image would be the last known sighting of her. Sophie's sudden disappearance came without warning to those around her, though it later emerged that she had been quietly struggling with deep emotional challenges. Prior to leaving the house, she had recorded a heartfelt video describing the immense pain she felt from dealing with anxiety and depression. A note was also found, suggesting that she had been in a fragile emotional state. The decision to leave home in the middle of the night, dressed only in a vest top and shorts during freezing temperatures, pointed to an impulsive and deeply emotional act. Her father, Martin Knowles, later urged others experiencing similar emotional distress to speak up and seek help, especially during the holiday season, a time that can amplify feelings of isolation and vulnerability. He emphasized that someone's health should never be a source of shame, encouraging open conversations and support for those who are struggling. Despite an immediate and extensive search effort involving police officers, volunteers, and local residents, no trace of Sophie has been found. Authorities searched key locations, including Beacon Park Industrial Estate and Beacon Wood, areas she was known to frequent. The police urged the public to check outbuildings and sheds in case Sophie had sought shelter, but the search yielded no results. Officers also reviewed her social media accounts and spoke with friends and family to gather as much context as possible. However, there were no confirmed sightings or new leads. Inspector Will Drummond, who led the investigation, noted that Sophie had seemed withdrawn in the days leading up to her disappearance. He confirmed that this was the first time she had ever gone missing, which made the situation even more concerning. According to those who knew her, her actions on the night she disappeared were completely out of character. The lack of any communication, sightings, or evidence since that day has left Sophie's family and the community in a prolonged state of uncertainty. Her disappearance struck a deep chord, prompting both public concern and an ongoing dialogue around people's well-being, especially among young people. Though years have passed, Sophie Smith remains missing. Her family continues to hold on to hope, even as they encourage greater awareness and compassion for those experiencing emotional distress. Sophie's story is not only one of mystery, but also a sobering reminder of the silent struggles many face. The Book of Enoch, an ancient text attributed to the biblical figure Enoch, offers a fascinating glimpse into the mythology and cosmology of ancient Judeo-Christian tradition. Among its many accounts of celestial beings, angels, and apocalyptic visions, the Book of Enoch also contains references to mysterious creatures known as mermaids or sea monsters, which dwell in the depths of the oceans. According to the Book of Enoch, mermaids are described as hybrid beings with the upper body of a human and the lower body of a fish, reminiscent of the merfolk of folklore and legend. These aquatic creatures are said to inhabit the vast expanses of the oceans, where they dwell in hidden underwater realms and interact with other sea creatures. One of the most notable passages in the Book of Enoch that references mermaids is found in the Book of Watchers, which describes the descent of fallen angels to earth and their interactions with humanity. In this section, the fallen angels, also known as the Watchers, are said to have taught forbidden knowledge to humankind, including the art of cosmetics and adornment. Among the practices attributed to the Watchers is the breeding of hybrid beings, including mermaids, through their illicit union with human women. The Book of Enoch paints a vivid picture of the mermaids' role in the cosmic order, portraying them as mysterious and otherworldly creatures that inhabit the hidden depths of the oceans. These beings are depicted as possessing both human-like intelligence and aquatic prowess, capable of navigating the underwater realms with grace and agility. In addition to their physical attributes, mermaids in the Book of Enoch are also associated with themes of temptation, seduction, and spiritual corruption. According to the text, the presence of mermaids among human communities is seen as a sign of moral decay and spiritual decline, reflecting the influence of the fallen angels and their corrupting influence on humanity. Despite their mysterious and often ominous portrayal in the Book of Enoch, mermaids also serve as symbols of the vast and mysterious depths of the natural world. Their existence underscores the ancient belief in the interconnectedness of all living beings and the rich diversity of life forms that inhabit the Earth's oceans. Furthermore, the inclusion of mermaids in the Book of Enoch reflects the broader cultural fascination with these mythical creatures throughout history. Stories of mermaids have been passed down through oral tradition and folklore for centuries, captivating the imagination of people around the world and inspiring countless works of art, literature, and popular culture. One such text, now known as the Lost Book of the Bible, is that of the ancient religious scripture known as the Book of Enoch. Originally rejected for speaking of other powerful beings, known as the Watchers, the Book of Enoch and the story of Enoch is referenced several times throughout a number of different books in the Bible, such as Genesis, Hebrews, Jude, and many others. So what were the Watchers, and why did this lead to the rejection of the story from the canonical texts? According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were fallen angels that began teaching humans advanced technologies and magic. It is through these Watchers that Enoch experienced his visions that featured technologies comparable to the modern-day understanding of spacecraft. In fact, the Book of Enoch opens its texts with a direct explanation to the future, claiming that people in the time of Enoch will not be able to understand his visions of technology, and that it will only be understood by humans in the distant future, most likely referring to humans in the modern day with comparable technologies. The text says the following: "There was a righteous man whose eyes were opened by the Lord, and he saw a holy vision in the heavens, which the angels showed to me. And I heard everything from them, and I understood what I saw, but not for this generation, but for a distant generation that will come." End quote. Shortly after this statement, Enoch talks about his journey ascending into the sky and seeing the heavens firsthand. His account is written as follows: "Behold, clouds called me in the vision, and mist called me, and the path of the stars, and flashes of lightning hastened me and drove me. And in the vision winds caused me to fly, and hastened me, and lifted me up into the sky. And I proceeded until I came near a wall which was made of hailstones, and a tongue of fire surrounded it, and it began to make me afraid." End quote. Could this passage found in the Book of Enoch be evidence of advanced alien craft witnessed by early man. Interestingly, Enoch describes that he ascended into a cloud that was hovering above him. This occurred after he saw flashes of lightning, an obvious reference to electricity, and then suddenly was lifted up into the sky by winds that began to surround him, which directly matches modern-day stories of individuals being lifted into the sky in a beam of light, which is attached to an unidentified flying object. When he entered the cloud, Enoch described tongues of fire, which seem eerily similar to the red and orange lights commonly seen on modern-day sightings of extraterrestrial craft. Shortly after being taken, Enoch talks about how the Watchers wished to teach him about the stars, and that the cloud they resided in began venturing out into deep space as Enoch recorded what he saw, trying to make sense of what he was witnessing. Enoch also gives accurate descriptions of what the stars look like when seen up close in space by describing his journey in the following statement. "And beyond this chasm, I saw a place, and it had neither the sky above it nor the foundation of earth below it. There was no water on it, and no birds, but it was a desert place. And a terrible thing I saw there, 7 stars, like great burning mountains." End quote. If you were a primitive human being with no way to compare the deep, endless darkness of space, would this fit an accurate description of what you witnessed? Interestingly, Enoch describes the stars as being much larger in person, something not traditionally known at the time, with ancient man believing that stars were nothing more than tiny lights that lit up the night sky. However, Enoch directly compares the stars to great burning mountains. If this experience fails to provide substantial proof as to Enoch traveling through the stars with the almost godlike Watchers, Enoch continues to explain what sounds almost like a black hole swallowing a dying star. In the scripture, the book of Enoch describes, "And from there I went to another place, more terrible than this. And I saw a terrible thing. There was a great fire there, which burnt and blazed, and the place had a cleft reaching into the abyss, full of great pillars of fire, which were made to fall. Neither its extent nor its size could I see, nor could I see its source." End quote. Although most people can hardly imagine what a black hole would look like in person, a star falling into an abyss that had no bottom and of size that could not be seen with no source is one of the most accurate descriptions someone could give for a singularity. The description of a cleft reaching into the abyss is commonly how stars are swallowed, in large arcing orbits with long pillars of fire reaching in. When Enoch then began to show that he was terrified of the abyss, the Watchers explained that he should not be scared, and then went on to elaborate that the black hole was nothing more than a prison for angels. The Book of Enoch is one of the most mysterious texts to emerge from ancient literature. Comprising several works attributed to the biblical figure Enoch, this collection of writings offers a unique glimpse into the cosmology, theology, and esoteric wisdom of the ancient world. From its controversial authorship to its profound influence on later religious and mystical traditions, the mysteries of Enoch continue to fascinate scholars and seekers alike. Enoch, the protagonist of the book of Genesis, is depicted as a righteous man who walked with God and was taken up to heaven. However, it is the apocryphal book of Enoch that provides the most detailed and elaborate account of his mystical journey and encounters with celestial beings. This ancient text, composed primarily in Aramaic and Ethiopic, consists of several distinct works, including the Book of the Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Book of Astronomy, and the Book of Dreams. One of the most striking aspects of the Book of Enoch is its vivid depiction of the heavenly realms and the hierarchy of angels and archangels that populate them. According to Enochic literature, the cosmos is divided into multiple layers, with the earth situated at the center and the heavens above, each inhabited by different orders of celestial beings. These angelic beings, known as Watchers, serve as intermediaries between God and humanity, tasked with overseeing the affairs of the world and guiding human destiny. The Book of Enoch also delves into esoteric topics such as astronomy, astrology, and cosmology, presenting a complex and intricate vision of the universe. Enoch is portrayed as receiving divine revelations about the movements of the stars, the cycles of the seasons, and the mysteries of creation, offering profound insights into the nature of reality and the divine plan. Furthermore, the Book of Enoch contains prophetic visions and apocalyptic imagery that foretell the coming of a final judgment and the establishment of a new age of righteousness. These apocalyptic themes resonate with similar motifs found in other ancient religious texts, such as the Book of Revelation in the New Testament and the prophetic literature of Judaism and Christianity. Despite its profound influence on later religious traditions, the Book of Enoch was excluded from the canonical scriptures of Judaism and Christianity, deemed apocryphal and heretical by religious authorities. However, fragments of the text were preserved among the Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in the caves of Qumran in the mid-20th century, sparking renewed interest and scholarly investigation into its origins and significance. The Salyut 7 Angels, a mysterious phenomenon that occurred during a pivotal moment in space exploration history, continues to captivate the imagination of enthusiasts and researchers alike. Nestled within the annals of Soviet space missions, this mysterious encounter unfolded aboard the Salyut 7 space station, adding a surreal dimension to humanity's quest for celestial exploration. The story begins in February 1984, when the Soviet Union launched the Salyut 7 space station into orbit, marking the latest chapter in its ambitious space program. Manned by cosmonauts Leonid Kizim and Vladimir Solovyov, the mission aimed to conduct scientific experiments and advance Soviet capabilities in space technology. However, what transpired during their mission would defy explanation and evoke profound questions about the nature of reality itself. As the cosmonauts conducted their routine operations aboard Salyut 7, they encountered a series of inexplicable phenomena that defied rational explanation. Described as shimmering angelic beings with luminous wings, these ethereal apparitions appeared to manifest within the confines of the space station itself, leaving the crew astonished and perplexed. Witnesses reported feeling a sense of awe and wonder in the presence of these celestial visitors, whose appearance seemed to transcend the boundaries of conventional reality. During their space mission, Commander Oleg Atkov and cosmonauts Vladimir Solovyov and Leonid Kizim reported a remarkable phenomenon aboard the space station. The entire station was enveloped in a captivating orange glow that seemed to permeate through its seemingly impenetrable walls from the outside. This stunning visual display not only illuminated the interior of the station, but also created an otherworldly ambience for the crew. In a brief spell, the intense orange light dazzled the crew members on board. As their eyes gradually adjusted, they peered through the portholes in search of the origin of this luminous phenomenon, their focus honing in on a potential catastrophic explosion. Aware of Salyut 7's history of encountering fires, the crew braced themselves for the worst, expecting the unexpected. What unfolded before them, however, surpassed mere comprehension and ventured into the realm of the inexplicable. The scene that greeted their eyes transcended the mere brightness of the light, sparking a myriad of questions and deepening the mystery shrouding the eerie glow. In an extraordinary encounter, every cosmonaut aboard the space station observed the distinct presence of 7 angelic figures positioned just beyond the outer reaches of the station. Describing them to ground control, the astronauts detailed these beings as having a humanoid semblance with human-like faces and bodies, distinguished by the presence of wings and halos. Astonishingly, these ethereal entities maintained perfect synchrony with the space station for a span of 10 minutes, displaying a level of phenomena beyond earthly comprehension. Following day 167 of their mission, the crew on board the Salyut 7 spacecraft welcomed a new team comprising Svetlana Savitskaya, Igor Volk, and Vladimir Janibekov from the Soyuz T-12 spacecraft. Upon their arrival, a mysterious phenomenon occurred as the space station was enveloped in a radiant orange glow, casting a surreal ambience within its confines. Promptly after the occurrence, the astronauts gazed out of the windows only to witness the presence of ethereal beings described as colossal in size, akin to that of an airliner, as recounted by the cosmonauts. This extraordinary encounter was shrouded in secrecy by the former Soviet Union, imposing a strict prohibition on the crew from divulging any details of the incident to the public domain. It was noted by all the astronauts that they witnessed what they described as a smiling angel during their space mission. While certain individuals might attribute this sighting to fatigue resulting from their prolonged duration in space, it is important to highlight the fact that multiple crew members observed these entities. Following this peculiar occurrence, the crew remained aboard the spacecraft for an unprecedented 237 days before ultimately vacating it. This incident raised intriguing questions and sparked discussions regarding the nature of their experience. The astronauts' collective encounter with the strange entity added an element of mystery to their mission and left a lasting impression on their memories. The astronauts aboard the spacecraft were momentarily engulfed by an intensely bright light that rendered them temporarily blind. Bewildered by the unexpected occurrence, once their vision gradually readjusted, they anxiously peered through the windows, scanning the vast expanse of space in search of the origin of the blinding luminosity. One prevailing theory posits that the Salute 7 angels may have been a manifestation of the collective unconscious, a symbolic expression of humanity's aspirations and fears projected onto the blank canvas of space. In this view, the space station served as a vessel for the exploration of inner and outer worlds, blurring the boundaries between the material and the metaphysical. Regardless of the explanations offered, the legacy of the Salute 7 angels endures as a testament to the enduring mystery of the cosmos and the boundless potential of human exploration. Whether viewed through the lens of science, spirituality, or the uncharted territories of the human psyche, the strange encounter aboard the Salute 7 space station serves as a reminder of the profound mysteries that lie beyond the reach of our understanding. As we continue our journey into the depths of space, propelled by curiosity and the quest for knowledge, the Salute 7 angels stand as a haunting reminder of the vastness of the unknown and the tantalizing possibility of encounters beyond our wildest dreams. In the timeless expanse of the cosmos, where mysteries abound and wonders await discovery, the legacy of the Salute 7 angels serves as a beacon of inspiration for future generations of explorers and seekers of truth. In the annals of space exploration, there exists a collection of awe-inspiring accounts that transcend the ordinary boundaries of human experience. Among these remarkable tales are the sightings of angel-shaped objects reported by astronauts during their journeys beyond Earth's atmosphere. These encounters, characterized by the appearance of ethereal beings with wings outstretched, evoke a sense of wonder and curiosity about the mysteries of the cosmos. Throughout the history of space exploration, astronauts from various space agencies have documented sightings of angel-shaped objects while traversing the vast expanse of outer space. These celestial apparitions, described as shimmering figures bathed in radiant light, have been observed during spacewalks, from the windows of spacecraft, and even while orbiting distant celestial bodies. Renowned accounts of angel-shaped objects in space dates back to the early days of human spaceflight. During various space missions, astronauts reported witnessing luminous figures with wings resembling those of angels hovering outside their spacecraft, along with unidentified objects. These celestial visitors, described as ethereal and otherworldly, captivated the imaginations of the astronauts and left an indelible impression on their psyches. In subsequent missions, including those of the Apollo program and the Space Shuttle era, sightings of angel-shaped objects became increasingly common. Astronauts aboard the Apollo spacecraft reported encountering celestial beings with wings of light while orbiting the Moon, while Space Shuttle crews observed similar phenomena during their missions in low Earth orbit. One of the most intriguing aspects of these sightings is their consistency across different missions and space agencies. Experienced astronauts, rigorously trained professionals who undergo extensive psychological screening, have independently reported encountering angel-shaped objects in space, lending credibility to the notion that something extraordinary is indeed occurring in the depths of the cosmos. While skeptics may attempt to explain away these sightings as mere tricks of the mind or optical illusions, the credibility of the witnesses and the corroborating evidence from multiple missions suggest otherwise. Astronauts, equipped with highly advanced training and technology, are unlikely to mistake cosmic phenomena for celestial beings, leading many to believe that the sightings of angel-shaped objects are genuine and worthy of further investigation. In the realm of scientific inquiry, researchers have proposed various theories to explain the sightings of angel-shaped objects in space. Some suggest that these phenomena may be linked to the natural occurrence of cosmic rays interacting with the Earth's atmosphere, creating fleeting illusions that appear to take on the form of celestial beings. Others speculate that the sightings may be the result of electromagnetic phenomena or atmospheric anomalies that occur under specific conditions in space. However, these scientific explanations fail to account for the consistency and credibility of the reports from experienced astronauts who have encountered angel-shaped objects firsthand. Many astronauts describe these celestial beings as sentient entities, capable of communicating telepathically and emanating a sense of peace and tranquility that transcends the confines of human understanding. In the realm of spirituality and metaphysics, the sightings of angel-shaped objects in space take on a deeper significance. Some interpret these celestial encounters as evidence of a higher intelligence or cosmic consciousness that permeates the universe, manifesting itself in the form of angelic beings to guide and protect humanity on its journey through the cosmos. Regardless of the interpretations offered, one thing remains clear. The sightings of angel-shaped objects in space represent a profound and mysterious aspect of the human experience. Whether viewed through the lens of science, spirituality, or the uncharted territories of the human psyche, these celestial encounters inspire a sense of wonder and awe, inviting contemplation of humanity's place in the vast and mysterious cosmos. Antarctica stands out as a vastly uncharted region, inhabited by only a handful of individuals. However, amidst its desolate landscapes, numerous captivating revelations have come to light in recent times. The latest findings circulating on social media encompass perplexing discoveries that defy easy explanation. Enthusiastic amateur investigators claim that numerous locations across Antarctica are undergoing a process of gradual melting, uncovering peculiar structures hidden beneath the ice. While it is emphasized by scientific experts that Antarctica holds no extraordinary secrets, and the majority of these revelations can be rationalized through natural occurrences, this has not deterred some individuals from dedicating extensive hours scrutinizing archival images of Antarctica and utilizing tools like Google Earth to identify mysterious, seemingly out-of-place formations. This phenomenon has sparked curiosity and intrigue within the online community, prompting widespread discussions and speculations about the possible origins and implications of these unearthed anomalies. The unfolding narrative surrounding these mysterious findings serves as a testament to the enduring fascination with the mysterious and unexplored regions of our planet, inviting further exploration and analysis to unravel the secrets hidden beneath the icy surface of Antarctica. While scouring the virtual landscape of Google Earth, an intrepid individual noticed something anomalous, a structure emerging from the ice, reminiscent of a bygone era. What began as a casual browsing session soon transformed into a journey of exploration and revelation as the mysterious object revealed itself to the individual, and many who saw the structure suggested that it could be an abandoned base that once belonged to the Germans. The story begins with an ordinary individual, armed with nothing more than a computer and an insatiable curiosity, navigating the virtual terrain of Google Earth in search of hidden treasures. As they panned and zoomed across the desolate expanses of Antarctica, their attention was drawn to a peculiar structure protruding from the ice, an angular, man-made edifice stark against the pristine whiteness of the surrounding landscape. Intrigued by this unexpected find, they delved deeper, scouring satellite imagery for clues to its origin and purpose. What they uncovered was nothing short of astonishing, a forgotten relic of a bygone era, preserved in the icy depths of Antarctica. The individual said that upon closer examination, it revealed the telltale signs of human habitation, ruins of buildings, and remnants of what appeared to be old structures scattered across the frozen landscape. The discovery sent ripples of excitement through the world of history and archaeology as amateur enthusiasts clamored to unravel the mysteries of this forgotten outpost. The implications of the discovery are profound, raising questions about the extent of German influence in Antarctica and the potential ramifications for our understanding of the region's history. This revelation sparked a flurry of reactions among viewers of the accompanying photographs. While some identified the object as one massive base, others theorized it resembled the remnants of an ancient city. Speculation arose that this unearthing could potentially serve as evidence of early human presence in the region, engaged in the construction of imposing edifices. One individual pondered that if presented with the image devoid of any context, observers might liken it to a structure akin to a building or the wreckage of a seafaring vessel. Oftentimes, when claims are made regarding such discoveries in Antarctica, individuals tend to dismiss them automatically. The essence of science lies in continuous learning and the correction of our understanding of the Earth's history. During that period, Germany's aspirations transcended the confines of European battlegrounds, encompassing broader ambitions and strategies that reached beyond the continent's borders. In an effort to gain strategic leverage and assert supremacy in the aftermath of the war, German scientists and military officials contemplated a bold plan to set up strongholds in Antarctica. This ambitious proposal aimed to solidify their position on the global stage and expand their influence beyond conventional territories. Germany's fascination with Antarctica is fueled by a compelling combination of strategic, scientific, and ideological motivations. Strategically, the country sees Antarctica as a pivotal location with significant implications for its global interests. The immense and frozen landscape of the Antarctic continent harbored vast, untapped resources and strategic military advantages, presenting an alluring opportunity for a government keen on extending its territorial control and military dominance. The uninhabited icy terrain of Antarctica offered lucrative prospects for exploration and exploitation, which could significantly contribute to the economic and military strength of a nation with expansionist ambitions. Antarctica's extreme remoteness not only held a strong appeal due to its secretive and isolated nature, but also provided a secure sanctuary for covert activities to be carried out discreetly, shielded from the scrutiny of Allied intelligence agencies. In the period preceding World War II, Germany's fascination with Antarctica experienced a gradual surge, driven by a series of exploratory missions and dedicated scientific investigations. The German Antarctic expedition, under the leadership of Captain Alfred Richer in the span of 1938 to 1939, remains a prominent exploration venture in history, particularly notable for its extensive mapping of vast Antarctic coastal regions and the subsequent territorial claims made on behalf of Germany. This expedition, renowned for its significance, not only contributed to the scientific understanding of the region, but also fueled the aspirations and ambitions of Germany during that era, bolstered by the expedition's discoveries and insights into the abundant natural resources and potential strategic advantages present in the Antarctic. The Antarctic expedition, conducted by the Germans aboard the vessel Schwabenland, which took place from 17th of December 1938 to 12th of April 1939, stands as a relatively obscure voyage in Antarctic exploration history. This expedition, occurring just before the onset of World War II, ventured into the western region, recognized today as Dronning Maudland. The Germans embarked on this voyage during a significant period in history, traversing the icy expanses of the Antarctic continent. The exploration was initiated due to apprehensions within the German governmental circles regarding the sustainability and viability of the German whaling sector. In the region of Dronning Maudland, where the Norwegian whaling fleets first explored, a significant discovery was made. While the land had not yet been formally acknowledged with its current name, unofficial claims on its behalf had already been put forward by Norway, even though there was no official royal proclamation confirming these assertions. In light of the British imposition of heavy fees and restrictions on whaling operations in the South Atlantic, the German government was eager to avoid a similar predicament. Consequently, a covert mission was strategized with the intent of staking a territorial claim in Antarctica on behalf of Germany. The primary goal was to identify a suitable site for establishing a German whaling fleet base.